Maintained its stance that most cryptocurrencies, including XRP, fell under its regulatory purview as securities. This unwavering position, coupled with the ongoing legal proceedings, contributed to a climate of regulatory uncertainty in the United States. Despite the uncertainty, the 2023 partial ruling had a noticeable impact on XRP's price, reflecting renewed investor confidence in its prospects. As the legal battle dragged on, the tide began to turn against the SEC. The agency faced growing criticism from lawmakers, industry leaders, and legal experts who argued that its approach to crypto regulation was stifling innovation and pushing businesses offshore. This mounting pressure, combined with a series of legal setbacks, ultimately led to the SEC's decision to drop the lawsuit against Ripple in 2025. One of the most significant blows to the SEC's case came in late 2024, when a federal judge dismissed a similar lawsuit against the cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase. The judge in that case ruled that the SEC had failed to prove that the digital assets offered on Coinbase's platform were securities. This legal defeat, along with the ongoing pressure from Congress, forced the SEC to reconsider its approach. The SEC's decision to drop the Ripple lawsuit wasn't a sudden shift, but rather a culmination of several factors. The 2023 partial ruling in favor of Ripple had exposed a vulnerability in the SEC's argument. The SEC's case further weakened when, in late 2024, a federal judge dismissed a similar lawsuit against Coinbase. This ruling struck at the heart of the SEC's argument, questioning their authority to regulate digital assets offered on exchanges as securities. This legal setback, combined with the Ripple ruling, created a challenging legal precedent for the SEC. Adding to the SEC's legal woes was the growing chorus of criticism from legal scholars and former regulators who questioned the agency's aggressive approach to crypto enforcement. The political landscape surrounding cryptocurrency regulation underwent a noticeable shift during President Trump's second term. While the early years of his administration were marked by regulatory uncertainty, the political winds began to favor a more industry-friendly stance. This shift was partly driven by a growing recognition of the potential benefits of blockchain technology and the need to foster innovation. Several influential lawmakers began advocating for clearer regulatory guidelines for cryptocurrencies. This bipartisan support for crypto-friendly regulations created pressure on regulatory agencies, including the SEC, to adopt a more measured approach. As major financial institutions and tech companies embraced blockchain and cryptocurrencies, the political calculus shifted. Faced with mounting legal challenges and a shifting political climate, the SEC under new leadership opted for a strategic retreat. The agency recognized that continuing the Ripple lawsuit could do more harm than good. This decision reflected a broader shift within the SEC, moving away from an enforcement-centric approach to one that emphasized dialogue and collaboration. The SEC's change in stance was partly motivated by a desire to avoid setting a legal precedent that could have far-reaching consequences for its regulatory authority over cryptocurrencies. A loss in the Ripple case could have emboldened other crypto firms to challenge the SEC's jurisdiction. The SEC's decision to drop the Ripple lawsuit marks a new chapter in the relationship between the government and the crypto industry. The SEC's decision to drop its lawsuit against Ripple reverberated throughout the cryptocurrency market. The case had long been viewed as a bellwether for how cryptocurrencies might be regulated in the United States. The outcome underscored the need for a comprehensive regulatory framework specifically tailored to address the unique characteristics of digital assets. The prolonged legal battle between Ripple and the SEC had exposed the inadequacies of applying decades-old securities laws to cryptocurrencies. The case highlighted the need for a nuanced understanding of the technology underpinning digital assets. In the wake of the Ripple case, there were calls for greater regulatory clarity from both within and outside the crypto industry. Rebuilding trust, restoring confidence in the market. The SEC's prolonged lawsuit against Ripple had cast a shadow of uncertainty over the cryptocurrency market, particularly for projects operating in a regulatory gray area. The lawsuit had a chilling effect on investment, as venture capitalists and institutional investors grew wary of deploying capital in a sector fraught with regulatory uncertainty. The dismissal of the case, therefore, came as a much-needed reprieve, potentially paving the way for renewed confidence and investment in the crypto space. The SEC's aggressive approach to crypto enforcement, epitomized by the Ripple lawsuit, had created an environment of fear and uncertainty, hindering the growth and maturation of the industry. The dismissal of the case, however, sent a positive signal to the market, suggesting a potential lawsuit against Ripple acted like a shot of adrenaline straight to the heart of XRP. The cryptocurrency, which had been trading under a cloud of uncertainty for years, reacted with a surge of optimism, its price skyrocketing in the immediate aftermath of the announcement. and challenges on the path to global adoption. Zooming out to a long-term perspective, XRP's price potential hinges on its ability to fulfill its vision of becoming a leading player in the global payment system. Ripple, the company behind XRP, has long positioned its technology as a faster, cheaper, and more efficient alternative to traditional cross-border payment methods, particularly for large financial institutions. If Ripple succeeds in gaining